So I moved to Lochaber Shinty Club because we played in primary school up until the age of sort of 12, 13, went to high school. After that, as you know yourself, that you kind of got under 14, under 17s and under 21 as it was then. So Lochaber didn't have an under 14 team, they had an under 17 team and an under 21, and I was just too light and small. I just couldn't, I wasn't getting picked or played, and I couldn't actually play shinty at that sort of level with my stature. So my uncle was playing for Lochaber at the time, and he used to go down to training on a Tuesday and Thursday. So I went down and joined my uncle and trained with under 14s, and that was really the reason why I went to Lochaber at 13. Lochaber started an under 14 team the following year, and I went back and we played 2 games, and then the club folded again, and under 17 had folded at that point as well. So then I was 14 and I could only play for the second team really, or the under 21s, and again I was far too light, so I went back to Lochaber and then I just stayed after that. My younger brother Hughie and Christopher, when they came through playing for Lochaber, they did have an under 14 and under 17, so they got to continue their shinty through with Lochaber. So that's really the story behind why myself and my younger brothers both played for different clubs. So on derby days, for when Lochaber were playing for Lochaber, I used to actively ask the manager just to make sure I wasn't anywhere near my little brother, just in case he skinned me. We hadn't beat Kilmallie in a couple of years at least at that point again. And in fact, we were actually 5-1 up in one of the McTavish finals, and Kilmallie beat us 6-5, if I remember rightly. It was just, you know, we just couldn't get back over the line to beat them. So we ended up getting a sports psychologist in to speak with us, and he sat the night before and he went through everything, and he'd been to the Olympics, and he'd done loads of amazing stuff and all about mind over matter. And I'll never ever forget how incredible I felt walking away from an Aird on the Friday night before we played them on the Saturday. We had a kind of sense of belief again that we can do this, and it really is mind over matter. So we turned up at Spean Bridge that day, and I remember the dressing room never felt so kind of positive and like alive, you know, when playing Kilmallie. You know, you kind of go in sometimes you think, right, come on, we're going to do it today, we're going to do this, do that, and it just doesn't happen. And I think sometimes quite deep down, you hope it's going to happen, but you don't really have the real belief. But I would say that day there was no question, there was a real fire in the belly, and we were out and we beat them quite comfortably in Spean. I think it was only 4-3 in the end, but we led the whole game, but they kept coming back, you know, and they got a goal quite late on, and of course you're looking at it again thinking, oh, you know, but just, you know, push it out of the way and go. So when the final whistle went that day, it felt like we'd really kind of a monkey off the shoulder, so to speak. It was like, that's it, you know, we are back and challenging as, you know, one of the top, if not the top club this season in shinty. So we went to the Camanachd final, and of course we met our biggest rivals, as it were, locally. I would say Kilmallie were our biggest rivals, certainly for me personally, coming from Spean in the shinty. And I know a lot of the Lochaber boys felt Kilmallie were the big rivals, and geographically they are, but shinty-wise Kilmallie were, because they were the best, and you wanted to beat the best and be the best. So to have them out the way, having lost 2 Scottish Cup finals, and then meeting your local rivals in the final for the first time in over 100 years. For Lochaber and Kilmallie had never met in a senior final, so this was such a huge thing. There was chat that it was going to be the biggest Camanachd Cup final in kind of recent years, modern day history. You know, I think Sky had the record with in Newton Moore in 1990, but because it was televised live on the television and it lashed the rain that day, there was 3,000 something through the gate, but it could have been a lot bigger. But every single pub and club in town was stowed out on the big screen. So yeah, a real incredible day altogether. Just even the hairs on the back of the neck were standing up even talking about it. I always must credit Kilmallie that year, because we played them at an Aird to lift the cup. You know, the first time in history, you know, X amount of 100 people have come down to watch and support us this day, and it absolutely lashed the rain for, you know, the Thursday, Friday. We were out the squeegees just trying to get the game going on the Saturday. Kilmallie had to beat us 21-0 that day for them to win in goal difference. So we ended up playing, and the game was abandoned before half-time. It was still 0-0, and Jimmy Guy was manager at the time, and they all kind of had a wee chat, and they came round and just said, we call it, you know, just call it a draw, and they gave us our party that day. So, because they could have made us replay it, and, you know, we would have had to put the champagne and ice, as it were. So 2008 we met Kilmallie at an Aird, and again James Clark will hate me talking about this as well, because Ronald Ross scored I think after 4 minutes, but there was definitely a bit of fun, and if you ever go back and watch the games, the first goal potentially goes through the side netting for the first goal. Fast forward another year and we play Kyle's at Oban and we're 3-0 up and the game's dead and buried, and the next thing, Kyle's get 1 back, they get 2 back, and they get a 3rd goal back, and you know, it's looking like the tide might shift completely here. Thankfully we get the 4th and decisive winner to win that year, but there's definitely a goal that goes through the side netting again that year. And Scott McNeil said this, as soon as we come off, it gets hit about 35 yards. I can't remember who hit it from Kyle's, and Scott takes it with his club and it comes off to the side and clear as day goes through the side of the side netting and lands down, and it's physically impossible for it not to have gone through the side netting. And as soon as we won and we come off, and Scott said to us that you know, Kyle's scored a goal that hadn't been counted. And you actually watch it on the telly and you watch it back in slow-mo, and even watching it in slow motion, you can't quite see. You see Scott's stick going up, and then you see the side netting ping on the telly, and the ball's disappeared, and then it's out there. But it's physically impossible from where Scott stops the ball to where it ends up without going through. So there was a great bit of controversy. So we had some bad luck throughout the years, but there were certainly 2 occasions that we potentially got ourselves a bit of luck. The inspiration behind the Caman Man was just literally my own thoughts and views on the sport and how I felt playing the sport. You know, looking at it as a whole, I literally grew up as being, I mean, shinty and music were my life. That's all I wanted to do, was be a musician and play shinty, you know. So those 2 things dominated my youth. And again, I've had so many incredible days out with the sport, and so many, you know, days that I'll take to the grave with me as being some of the best in my life. So when I finished in 2014, we won at Oban to lift the league for Lyme to go back up. It felt like the right time to bow out. I was looking ahead to the next season, and in the first 9 games of the season I wasn't making one of them because I was away touring with the band. So it felt like a natural time, and I felt very lucky that I got to leave on my own terms rather than being injured or, you know, something else taking me away from the sport. It was very much, you know, my love and passion that was on a different route that was taking me away. So the Caman Man was a poem that I just sat and wrote down after kind of finishing up with Shinty in 2014. And then when I was making the Era album, I thought it'd be quite nice to try and put a wee bit of music towards it and make it in a song. And that was literally where it all came from. And the chorus actually was a little bit different at the start, because I had something along the lines of the cry from the, what was it? Something about the cry from the 2 white lines, you know, of the crowd shouting. But then Frozen came out, and it was Let It Go, Let It Go. It's a cry, it's a sign, something in the cry from the 2 white lines, Let It Go. So yeah, in many ways Frozen made me change the chorus. The Albert Smith in a Scottish Cup final is an incredible thing. You know, it really is a lovely thing, but you can never take it away from, it's a team sport, and it's your teammates, and if you're lucky enough to get your hands on a winner's medal, it's everyone in the club that's got that. You know, getting the Albert Smith is certainly a lovely wee tip of the hat for having a good game on that day, but just to win that day was very, very special, and to do it in the mannerism that we did, personally again, was very, very special. I think that's the lovely thing, is that shinty means so much to you and so much to the community, like, you know, Ian and Donny Grant and the boys of Kilmallie, and the same as you know, all the lads in Newtonmore, and you know, everyone has their old stalwarts, and these legends that they were, you know, they were the guys that were kind of fronting shinty as it were at that point too. And so it is lovely when you look back and you get a blether with them, and you know, as you were mentioned, speaking to Ian Ross so soon after that cup final, and Ian's such an absolute gentleman himself. It was just great, but of course he's had so many amazing days out with the cup and so much history himself with it, and through Ronald his son and everything, you know. It just touches on everyone, yeah.